Hi everybody, this is the Veiled Cottage Witch. I hope you're all doing good today. This is a long overdue video. This is a request from my good friend Marina. So if Marina's listening, this one's for you, girl. This is a video about tools. Now, tools that I use in my craft will look different than the tools you use in your craft. I'm going to be talking about the tools that I use, and then I'm going to also be talking about some internal tools that I think are important, if not more important than the external tools, the tools that we work with. So, first of all, tools are catalysts, okay? We make the magic. The tools don't make the magic. For instance, if I'm an herbal witch, which I am, I wouldn't search out things and tools to work with a lot of crystals. Mostly I work with them for meditation and just to hold power. But therefore, on the other hand, if I was a crystal witch, I wouldn't have much use for herbs and incenses and magical teas and such like that. So I wouldn't need a mortar and pestle. So kind of go with what kind of magic that you're going to do, because if you're not going to use your tools, don't have them. And if you have them, use them. First thing we're going to talk about is an internal tool, and that is visualization. If you know me, if you've taken a class from me, if you've done a guided meditation with me, I am all about creative visualization. So this is actually being able to see in your mind's eye the outcome of the spell, or exactly how that outcome is going to manifest. If you can't imagine what you would like, then it's really hard to bring that into manifestation. So it's invaluable to making your magic and rituals empowered. If you can see it, you can be it. So I highly recommend creative visualization, and I do happen to have a book right here that really helped me. Creative Visualization for Beginners by Richard Webster. I really like this author. He writes a lot of beginner books. This has amazing practices so that you can get better at visualization, using color, using light, using symbols, and just kind of seeing your situation and how it's going to be played out. Very excellent book. So that is my number one tool, is creative visualization, hands down. Another good idea to help you if you don't want to read about creative visualization and you just want to practice it, guided meditations. You can go to YouTube and search guided meditations for anxiety, guided meditations for prosperity, guided meditations for relaxation or grounding or protection. There's a plethora of guided meditations, and that has helped me tremendously in putting my creative visualization into practice. Okay, on to the next one, and this will not be a surprise. Meditation. Now, I know I just saw a whole bunch of people rolling their eyes. That's fine. Meditation does not have to look like everybody else's way of meditating. We all do it all the time. I call it trancing out. When we kind of stare off into space And we really don't know what's going on outside of what's going on inside our head. That is meditation. That is a form of meditation. So if you can do that, then, basically daydream, then you can meditate. You can meditate while walking. My best friend, Evelyn, does a walking meditation, and she has had fabulous results. You can start with around your block and then go a little bit further. But the point is to become mindful. And by becoming mindful, what I mean is focus on your breath. Kind of think about what you're doing. I am walking and there's a beautiful tree. Or I am sitting and I am listening to the birds outside. They are really going at it today. They have heard that spring is on the way, and so they are chattering. So if you hear that, that is not music. That is for real right outside my cottage. So staying mindful during the day really helps you get in touch with your core. It helps to center you. It increases your energetic boundaries, and just coming back to the breath is grounding. You can do this, like I said, walking. You could do it on your altar, not on your altar, but in front of your altar, or while just sitting outside in nature and gazing. You can gaze at the sky, you can gaze at the birds or the trees, but just coming into that space, you can reach out with your senses, and you can, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you touch? Going through those senses really helps keep you mindful, and it's a really easy way to sneak in meditation. And why do we meditate? Well, we meditate to focus. If you are not focused in your magic and ritual, then it's not going to work for the benefit of you. It's not going to help you. It'll be like an empty process. So, meditation, even if you have 5 minutes, even if you have 2 minutes, everybody has time to take a little bit and just be mindful, be present, and be grounded and centered. The next tool is learning, reading, and doing research. I lump those all together. So why am I talking about things to do in a tool video? Well, those are your tools. Your learning helps you to know what you're working with, know why you're working with it. That goes for crystals, that goes for herbs, that goes for deities, that goes for ancestors. Learning about them helps to create a connection. It allows you to learn different perspectives. Say you read a book on herbs, and this book says use rosemary for protection. So you read another herbal book and it says, oh, rosemary can also be used to cleanse, to purify. So you now have 2 sources of information that are different, that you can incorporate or not. If you feel like you read, okay, rosemary's for love, and nowhere in your mind or wherever you've read has rosemary ever been linked with love, but this book says, guess what? You do not have to integrate that. You do not have to use that. If you're not going to use it, lose it, really, honestly. And here's another point that I want to make. about learning and doing research that's really, really important. And it's the only rule of 3 that I follow. Okay? So my rule of 3, I don't think it's mine. I think I learned it somewhere. But the rule of 3 that I follow is, if you find something in a source, in one source, you need to back it up with 2 more sources that say the same thing. That way you get proof and not just somebody's opinion. You start seeing, oh, rosemary's used for purification in a lot of books. So I'm going to take that as truth. And, really, that's what we have to rely on, right? So I always back up my research with 2 more sources that say the same thing. So learning, reading, and doing research. Very, very, very useful tool. If you don't want to learn, you're probably in the wrong practice, because you are constantly learning, because nature is constantly evolving and changing, and we have to evolve and change with it. Otherwise, why are we here, right? So, learning, one more thing about learning, and then we'll move on. It helps you to find where you want to expand and where you want to back up. For instance, I read one book about magical herbalism, and then I wanted to read a ton more of books about herbalism. I started one book on ceremonial magic, and I got about halfway through, and I realized, nope, gonna back it up. This is not for me. And that's okay. Being a witch does not automatically mean that you're gonna know how to do everything. I can't use astrology to save my life. Therefore, I don't use it a whole lot in my practice, so I'm not gonna research it. So go where you're gravitated toward. Don't force something, because if you try to force yourself to learn something that doesn't jibe with you, why learn it? It's not going to benefit you. You're not going to use it. Don't put it in your toolbox. All right, moving on. Your energy. That is a huge tool of the craft. Your energy. This is your psychic senses. This is where you employ shielding, where you employ protection. And of course, you're going to use visualization with your energy to increase it even more and get it flowing. This is where your intent is harnessed. And without working with energy, we can't create change, which is essentially what magic is, right? Creating change. So working with energy, getting to know at least mind, body, spirit, and working with those, or the 3 cauldrons of Posey, or the 3 worlds, or the chakras or energy centers, whatever energy form works for you. We're all energy, right? You're going to be using it, and it's just a matter of harnessing it. So energy, huge deal. I have a wonderful book recommendation on energy work, The Inner Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penczack. This, you can tell, I've been using. He just has a lovely way of explaining how to do energy work and some precautions and protection and safety when doing energy work. This was so helpful for not just my practice, but in helping others. This book is tremendous help with working with energy. The next tool I have is True Will. All right. True will is working toward being the exact version of you that you want to be. If you are always working your rituals and spell work with your true will, your spells, your intentions, your rituals, all of it will combine together to help you achieve your goals, to help you manifest what you want. But if you're doing something that doesn't feel right to your true will, and you feel it in your gut, you feel it, you feel true will. When we act our life's purpose and we do that, we get this fulfillment. That's what I'm talking about. That's true will. So without that, we're just blindly aiming spell work. So we need to make sure that we're acting from our true will and, from a space that's for our highest and best good at all times, if possible. All right, moving on. This one seems kind of obvious, and I'm getting thirsty. This one seems kind of obvious, and I talk about this in my daily practice video, but commitment to your practice. Believe it or not, if you practice your practice will be more effective. I know, sounds crazy, but it works. You keep at it, you will get better. I mean, when you first learned how to ride a bike, you didn't just get on it and start going. You had to work up to it, but you had to commit to that. Anything you've ever learned and integrated, you've had to commit to. Commitment to your practice is going to make you a better magician, make you a better spellcaster, make you a better witch. I promise. All right, moving on to the next tool, journaling. There go the eye rolls again. All right, so journaling, and basically just the act of writing things down. I don't necessarily mean just free-flowing journaling, dear diary, blah, blah, blah. But I do recommend that you write down what you want to learn, because what happens is you read it, you highlight it, maybe you underline it, and then you write it in a book. You have put that information into your mind 3 times. You've read it, you've highlighted it, and you've wrote it down. That is magic. That makes things sink in, and it makes it a lot easier for you to learn things, really. The more you put it in, the more it's integrated into your life, and it just becomes second nature. So you can do free-flowing journal. You can do a study journal. I have notebooks for different books that I read and information. A dream journal is so important, especially if you're working with spirit guides, deities, and ancestors, or any kind of spirit work. You're going to want to pay attention to your dreams. You will get messages. Absolutely. You can also do a meditation journal. This has been such a great tool for me, because I'll be meditating and I will receive information in that meditation. And I don't want to bring myself out of meditation, but I do have my meditation journal right by me as I meditate. And I do open it and write it when it comes to me, because that's the moment. We need to be in the moment when we're learning. And so I think that is also very invaluable in your practice, is when you receive that information, you write it down. Write your magic down. Write Write your spell work, your rituals down. Write everything down, and then you can reference it. And then it also, like I said, integrates it into your daily life, into your mind, so that you don't have to necessarily think about it as much. You can go back and look, oh wow, I had a dream that I became a raven and I flew, and then the next day I saw a raven flying over me. So if you journal all those things down, you'll start seeing those synchronicities and patterns, and it's really amazing. That is the fastest and quickest way to integrate your magic into the daily life. All right. My next tool is smoke. Now, this can be any kind of smoke. This can be from incense. This can be from an herb bundle. This can be pot smoke, cigarette smoke, whatever it is. But smoke, and specifically incense and smoking herbs, changes the consciousness of not just yourself, but also the room and the space that you are within. So you can use it to purify your space. You can use it to cleanse tools. You can use it to cleanse yourself and your aura. I do a smoke cleanse for myself every morning and every night, especially when I do energy work or a lot of readings or around a lot of people. Smoke cleansing just gets all of that stuff that you don't want in your energy field out of it. It will put you in the mood to do rituals, especially if you use the same incense for your rituals. Say you only use amber incense on full moons. Then when it's full moon and you light that ritual incense, your mind's going to be right in ritual mode, because it's like, I remember what this smells like. This smells like ritual, and I'm here for it. So, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be white sage. You can use just about anything. I was supposed to get some herb bundles that I have made out of things that grow in my garden. So this herb bundle is just a little one for me. Is rosemary, mugwort, lavender, and mullein. And you can see that nice little mullein leaf wrapped around there. And then this guy is garden sage. I need to rewrap him. I can see he's getting unwound. That's what happens when you make homemade things. Sometimes you have to remake them. But this is just, I grabbed a bundle of garden sage out of my garden. I let it wilt for 24 hours. Sometimes less. 10 hours is good. 10 hours is good. And then I was able to just kind of fold it and then just start wrapping. And of course, you can also use, I usually do, use some knot magic in here, some cord magic. So these are just a couple of mine that I've made. But it doesn't have to be this dramatic. It can be a stick of incense. Really, smoke is smoke. It does the job. It does the job. But I do happen to like the smell of an herb bundle. It does remind me of what a purified space feels like. So just like the incense, it just automatically puts me in that mode, that cleansing, purification space that I need. Awesome. All right. My next tool that I'm going to be talking about is the cauldron. I would say I use my cauldron every day. So this is my cauldron. So I have used water in here, but that's not generally how I use it. But you can. I usually just use a regular bowl for water. But for the cauldron, what I like to do is I will fill this with sea salt or dirt. I had a lot of dirt when the electricity line got put in. So I grabbed it and I said, this is what I'm going to use in my cauldron. And with dirt or sand or salt, you can put your incense stick right in there and it supports it. And all your mess just goes right into the cauldron. It's wonderful. The cauldron is a tool of transformation. So anything that goes in the cauldron is transformed and it changes and it's never the same. So I really like that because it's multi-purpose. So other than the using it for incense and to burn on a charcoal, burning resins or powders, other than that, I also like to use my cauldron as a spell candle holder. You just got to get some, you can use a candle holder, or you can light the end and then just adhere it to the bottom, or you can get some candle glue. Candle glue, I like to use that a lot for my candles because sometimes they just don't fit right, and that candle glue really helps that. But I mean, it's not necessary. You can use candle wax to do the same thing. It's just kind of like a paraffin base. So it doesn't alter the actual candle that you're doing if it's empowered. It's not going to bother it. I just like this because fire safety, it's contained. I don't have to worry about it. Yes, so the cauldron is an amazing tool that I use every day for so many things. I think I did use it for Imbolc when I put the first snow of the season at the bottom of my cauldron, and then I put a candle on top of that. And then when the snow melted and the candle burned down, that was the end of my spell. So multi-purpose, the cauldron. Okay, moving on to wands. Now, wands can vary. It doesn't have to be one you find out in nature. I didn't find this one out in nature. But this is mine. This is Rowan. I did buy it on Etsy. I fell in love with the picture and I just instantly connected with it. I did the carvings on here with a wood burning tool. These are Ogham staves. I got to fit all of them on there and I'm very, very pleased with that. So wands are used to bring energy in or move energy out. So for instance, if I'm calling upon a deity, the way in my practice, I've been taught other ways to invoke using a wand, like the pentagram and doing starting here for earth and starting there for air and starting there for fire. That's too confusing for my brain. So I just swirl in to draw energy in, and I swirl out to draw energy out. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Wands can be made of wood. They can be made of stone. They can be made of crystal. I have a couple towers here that this is a golden healer. So you could use a crystal to do the same thing. Very, very good. But do you need a wand? No, because you have your fingers, 10 of them. You know, a lot of times if I'm out in nature and I wish to call upon someone and I want to use a gesture, you don't need the tools. You are the magic. The tools are fun, yes. I do not deny that. Tools are great fun, but they're external. They're not what's inside you. So yes, I do use my wand in my daily practice to call upon my deities, but you absolutely do not have to, and you do not have to search one out online. You can get one out in nature now. If you get one out in nature, I highly, highly, highly recommend asking the trees permission before you take it. And make sure that you're not taking something that is protected or something that is endangered. You know, common sense. Befriend the tree that you're asking it for. Maybe you want to leave an offering. Don't take more than you need, though. It's nature. You know, don't take it if you don't have to. I have a tree of heaven that grows crazy, and my wife just chopped up a whole bunch of wands just like this, branches this big and around about that thick. So I've been using those as gifts to my students who don't have a wand. I'm like, well, here, you know, do with this whatever you want. You can strip the bark to make it real smooth like my wand, or you can leave it rough. Maybe you like that texture, but always, always, always get permission from the tree, please. It's just nice. Okay. The next tool that I want to show you is the athame. Now, the athame can also be used to invoke or devoke or, banish energy or call in energy. But I use the athame mostly to create sacred space. So this can be, just projecting it out of your hand, wherever direction that you feel compelled to start, and then visualize, there's that word again, visualize all around you with your athame, or you can actually just draw it on the ground with the point. This is not very sharp because I don't use it very often. I may have used it a couple of times in ritual to kind of like pierce a pomegranate or cut an apple. That was important to ritual, but I don't cut normal everyday things with this. It is not meant for that. I usually only do it in ritual or creating sacred space. And then I have the crescent knife. Now, I use this symbolically to call upon Kronos in my practice. But that's not the only thing I use this for. It is very, very sharp on the outside and it is serrated on the inside. So I can use this to harvest a bundle of herbs. That's the practical use of this. It cuts a lot at once. I mean, you could go to town with one of these. Just be very, very careful. It is sharp on both sides. Most crescent knives are. But really, I like to use the crescent knife symbolically to cut cords. So if I'm doing a cord cutting meditation or ritual, this is going to be on my altar, if not in my hand. So you can use it to cut cords of a situation. You can use it to clear paths in your mind towards your goal, clear your obstacles. This I use more symbolically than physically. So there's that one. The next tool that I want to talk about is a sacred space or altar. It is so important that you have a space either in nature or in your home that you specifically go to do rituals and spell work. You will definitely be able to perform magic easier because it's all in one spot. And when you visualize the cone of energy either coming in or going out, it needs a place to harness that. You need a place that knows you and that knows your energy, and then it makes your magic stronger. So I highly recommend either you, one, create your own altar like I have, or you make a space out in nature. You don't have to bring anything to it. It can just be a place where you love this tree and you love sitting up against this tree and looking at that. Can be your altar. It doesn't have to be permanent. It can be portable, and it doesn't even have to be physical. It can be in your mind. We can create in our mind our own astral temple that has everything we need to accomplish our goals. Visualization, again, gotta love it. So my next tool that I'm going to talk about is candles. Candles are huge in my practice. I have deity candles. I have ancestor candles. I have spell candles. I have decorative candles. I love fire. I'm not going to lie. I'm such a fire witch. But even if you're not a fire person, even if fire scares you or you don't like working with it, you can use LED candles. You can use light. You can use any of those things. You know, you don't have to have the real flame. I like to watch it burn down. That's my preference. But it's all in your mind, right? So if intention is 9/10 of the law, if you put all your intention into an LED candle, it is going to work for you the same as if you put an intention into a wax candle. The intention matters, not the actual candle, if that makes sense. So what I use the most in my practice are tapers. I love to carve into tapers. In my deity work and daily practice video, I showed you how I carved certain sigils in and put oils on and then powders to make the sigil show up really well. Tapers are wonderful. The thing about tapers is that you gotta watch them. You cannot leave a taper. You cannot leave a taper going. Please don't start your house on fire. Tapers are meant to be in holders, and I have tons of those. So I wouldn't do the trick where you burn the bottom and stick it at the bottom of your cauldron. I wouldn't do that. I would use an actual candle holder. I like tapers for specifically working with deity. As you see behind me, I have a green taper right there and a blue taper down here that's almost done. I just really, really like to watch a taper burn, and I zone out, I meditate watching that taper. It's beautiful. I love it. So this is what I use the most. And then I have 7-day candles. Now, these are great if you want to write on the outside. I would not recommend, I've seen certain people recommend that you use oil on the glass. I don't do that. What I do is I poke holes with a screwdriver or a wooden skewer or an incense stick. I poke down here in that wax and I put a few drops in there. And then if I want to use powders, I just put the powder right in that hole. You can also, you could carve through the top, but I'll be honest, I use a Sharpie right on the glass, and I use this for my ancestors. And I write their full names, their date of birth, and their date of death to represent them. And then you can light it every time that you're working with them. My next candle that I want to talk about is the pillar candles. These are good, but not great. These, yes, you can carve in and put it on a wonderful stand. I've got a wonderful stand up there. But the thing is, you have to let it burn for a whole hour at a time to get it to burn evenly. Otherwise it tunnels. And if it's in a cold space, like the cottage is sometimes, it will cave in, and it's not that big of a deal. I kind of like it. It looks cool, but I would not use this for a spell. I would not. I would use this more. I mean, you could use it as a long-term spell, but I wouldn't use, this would not be my go-to to use doing an actual spell. You know, this would be more like a permanent, like, protection candle maybe, that is always in the same space that you light before you do any magic. That would be a wonderful way to use these pillars. Yeah, so basically that's how I use candles in my practice. I generally, you can warm them up and put crystals in them, but that's not my thing, so I don't do that. My things are oils and powders. So that's generally what I use candles for. But I don't know what I would do without candles, because they have been such a huge part of my practice. I will put a candle for any kind of magic. So, all right, I'll stop talking about candles. They set the mood for anything that you want. That was the last thing. I'm done now. All right. The next tool that I want to talk about is a place to leave offerings. Now, this can be on your altar in a bowl or in a chalice or on a plate, or a place out in nature. Please don't leave salt out in nature. It destroys the soil and it's just not good. So don't do that. But having a bowl or a plate or a chalice just to leave offerings is very good if you work with deities, ancestors, spirits, anything like that, fairies, whatever you work with, they're gonna want an offering. So having an offering bowl or chalice is very, very helpful. And then also a place where you can dispose of it in nature if it is safe to do so. My next tool that I'm going to talk about is huge. This tool is not just a tool in my craft, it is a tool in my life, and that is music, and basically sound of any kind. So music will emotionally change you. Music will emotionally change your mood. It does it. It's amazing. It can make you cry. It can make you laugh. It can make you raise your hands in empowerment, or it can make you stomp your feet. Music is amazing. I never, hardly ever, do meditation without music. I love it. I have a drum that I use sometimes. I have a singing bowl that I use sometimes. I have a bell right back there on my altar that I use as well. But making a sound You know, even if it's just your voice, making a sound will change the consciousness and the mood of whoever hears it. It's just been proven and proven and proven and proven. It cleanses and signals phases of ritual. If you're using a bell or a singing bowl, it can announce that this is the next part of the ritual. I really like that. I really like that. YouTube for music is amazing because you can do sounds from a beach, you can do a forest, you could do a bonfire, or you could have music for relaxation, music for anxiety relief, music for prosperity, music for concentration and focus. YouTube has music for everything. You just have to use that search bar. Huge, huge tool, music and sound to my practice. And I think I only have one more. Oh my gosh, we're almost to the end. So the last thing that I use in my practice are crystals. Now, I've said this before, I'm not a crystal witch. I use crystals to hold on to while I'm meditating. I also use crystals in my chakra healing. I also will empower them to boost intentions. I can add the small pieces into spell bottles or spell jars. You can put them on your altar to signify what energy you're working with. For instance, I have a piece of blue calcite right here, which represents to me the ocean and peace and serenity. And then I have the golden healer right here for if I want to heal, I will actually take that point and I will point it to myself and hold it so that the energy goes into me. Wonderful way to use crystals. Or I have this piece of petrified wood right here that I use a lot if I want to. If jewelry has a lot of energy in it, I will put the jewelry on top of the petrified wood just to ground out any excess energy. I don't really want to cleanse it, but I want it to not be so full. It kind of drains it for me. So I use it that way. I also use crystals in conjunction with color magic. So a lot of crystal witches are going to be mad at me, and I'm so sorry. I am a color magic person, just like I'm a candle magic person. So I will use the color of the crystal to help me manifest my intention. For instance, I'll use blue for calm, I'll use green for prosperity, or earth magic or grounding. I'll use red for power. It goes on and on and on. So I don't really use them for a lot of things. I just basically use them to kind of set an intention, really. That's about it. I want you to use the tools that are going to benefit your practice. If it's not going to benefit your practice, don't buy it, don't use it. You're going to overload with too many tools that you don't use. If you have no reason to use a crescent knife, don't buy one. If your practice does not include casting a circle, don't use an athame. If you don't want to use herbs in your practice, don't buy a mortar and pestle. If you're not going to use it, why have it? I mean, decoration maybe, sure, go ahead. But it's just not going to be something that it's just going to take up space. So last tool is my mortar and pestle. I use this to grind herbs, a lot for my anointing oils that I make. And then I also use it to, what's the word? Macerate, maybe, to macerate my resin to break it down a little bit. Just a side note, if you're using a mortar and pestle and you put resin in here, don't think that you can go crazy, because guess what? Friction, resin, it's going to melt and it's going to be gooey mess. Trust me, I've done it. What I tend to do is just knock it down a little bit gently. I also do that when I'm breaking down hard berries like hawthorn berries and juniper berries. It just use the weight to kind of chip it away and kind of break it down into a smaller substance. That's my little tip. Take it or leave it. So really, that's all the tools that I use in my practice. Everything else is just kind of set dressing, you know. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope that I gave you a lot of internal and external tools to work with. Like I said, those internal tools are going to be the most valuable in your practice. You know, so if you have any questions or would like links to any recommendations, please let me know down in the comments. And as usual, this is the Veiled Cottage Witch, advising you to live your best life and live for yourself. Blessed be.